My uncle said I'd never be a real man. Now he works for my wife. I was 11 the first time he said it. We were at my cousin's wedding. Bride came down the aisle and I teared up. Not sobbing, just that quiet kind of crying you don't even notice until someone points it out. Uncle Stan leaned over and muttered, "You better toughen up, kid. Real men don't cry at weddings." Then he chuckled and finished off his beer like he just handed me a life lesson. Stan was one of those old school, greasy hand, shout at the lawnmower types. A mechanic by trade, always covered in oil and always angry about something. The ref, his tools, the government, his own kids. He believed in men being loud, hard, and always right. I was none of those things. I liked baking. I drew flowers in the margins of my homework. I flinched when people raised their voices. And to Stan, that meant I was on the fast track to becoming, in his words, soft. He treated me like a punchline for years. "You playing with easy bake ovens now? That's a girly show. Careful, you're gonna start skipping." Always laughing, always pretending it was a joke. By middle school, I'd learned to hide. I still drew, but only in private. I still baked with my mom, but only when no one else was around. I started hating parts of myself for no reason other than Stan's voice lived rent-free in my head. But things shifted in high school. I joined the art club, the baking committee. Yeah, that's a real thing. We made pies for fundraisers, and I still remember this old lady who said my apple crumble reminded her of her late grandmother. I almost cried, again, but this time I didn't care. I volunteered at the animal shelter and realized animals don't give a damn about how masculine you act. They just know kindness when they feel it. Stan didn't stop. Once at a family BBQ, he cornered me in the garage and muttered, "You keep hanging around girls and cats, people gonna talk." I looked him in the eye and said, "Let them." Then I walked away. First time I didn't shrink, wouldn't be the last. In college, I met Sarah. First date, she wore a leather jacket, ordered the spiciest thing on the menu, and told me she didn't believe in soulmates. I told her I cried at weddings. She just smiled and said, "Then you've probably got better emotional range than 90% of men I've met." We got married in a courthouse with 6 guests and Thai takeout after. It was perfect. Sarah started her own home renovation company right after graduation. She's brilliant, not just book smart, street smart, hires ex-cons and refugees, teaches them trades, runs her sites like clockwork, sharp as hell. No ego, no bull, just work, compassion, and standards higher than most CEOs. One night, we're doing payroll and she says, "We're bringing on a new site supervisor, Stan Miller. Know him?" I nearly choked on my noodles. "That's my uncle." She raised an eyebrow. "The uncle?" "Yep, the one who said I'd never be a man because I liked frosting cookies." She stared at the screen. "Well, his resume's solid, certified, good reviews." I shrugged. "Hire him, just don't mention me." 2 weeks later, I swing by the site to drop off some invoices. Stan's in a hard hat yelling at a cement truck. Doesn't recognize me at first. Then he does. His face goes sour. "You?" he starts. "Yep," I cut in. "Sarah's husband. And technically your weekend logistics coordinator." He looked like he bit a lemon, but said nothing. 2 of the guys nearby were watching. After that, cold professionalism. He'd send in reports. I'd reply. We never talked about the past. I didn't need to. I'd hear through Sarah how he was adjusting. "Not the worst we've had," she'd say. "He was learning. He showed up on time, followed protocol, got written up once for being late. Once. No complaint." Then, a few months in, I overheard him talking to one of the new hires. The kid had burned out a drill bit and looked ready to cry. Stan clapped him on the shoulder and said, "Don't sweat it. Real learning comes from screwing up." I almost dropped my coffee. Maybe people change. Or maybe when you start respecting the people signing your paychecks, the mockery dies in your throat. Now Stan clocks in on time, reports to my wife, and emails me his expense reports. He attends our emotional intelligence workshops. He uses our budgeting sheets. He hasn't said the phrase, "real man," in months. And the best part? I never raised my voice. Never rubbed it in. Never said, "I told you so," because I didn't need to prove I was a man. He just works for one, and she happens to be married to me.